Story 1. So I'm 27 years old now, and something pretty wild happened to me about 4 years ago back when I was 23. I met this guy in college and we were super close, like we did everything together. Fast forward to when we were 23, we decided we were so in love that we should get married, so we got engaged, and everything seemed perfect for a year. But then, just 1 week before our big wedding day, something straight out of a movie happened. My fiancé, Jake, who was 28, and my stepsister, Olivia, who's a year older than him, suddenly decided they were in love with each other instead. They ran off together just like that, leaving me a note. In the note, Jake told me he had been secretly seeing Olivia for a while, and they realized they were the ones who were truly meant to be together, not him and me. He said it felt wrong to go through with our wedding when his heart belonged to someone else, and he thought it was for the best because this way, nobody would end up unhappy or living a lie. After they took off, I didn't hear from them again for a really long time. Jake's parents, feeling super sorry about everything, paid for all the wedding stuff so I wouldn't have to spend a dime, which was nice of them, but that was pretty much the last time I had any contact with his side of the family. My family, on the other hand, was beyond upset. My parents were furious, and my dad was so angry he even thought about hiring a detective to find Jake and Olivia and bring them back to explain themselves. It was a total mess and definitely not how I thought things would turn out. Since I was super young, like a tiny kid, the man I call my dad is actually my stepdad, but he's the only dad I've ever known or needed. My real dad left us when I was just a baby, and my mom never saw him again after that. He even signed some papers saying he didn't want to be part of my life. My mom and he were never married. Then, when I was about 8 years old, my mom married my stepdad, and that's who I've been calling Dad ever since. Olivia and I used to go to the same school, that's how our parents met. But Olivia, she didn't like me, not one bit. She was mean to me, really mean, like a bully you see in movies. She had her group of friends, and they would always pick on me, both at school and at home. It was like there was no break from her meanness. I told my parents about it, hoping they could make it stop. They did try to talk to her and tell her off, but Olivia didn't care. She wasn't afraid of them at all, so she just kept on bullying me. School was tough because of her and her friends, making it feel like a never-ending nightmare. Just like how I never had my real dad around, Olivia's situation was pretty tough from the start. Her own mom passed away when she was really young, like just a few years old. It happened suddenly one night because of a health issue called an epileptic episode. So when my mom tried to step in and tell Olivia off for being mean or doing something wrong, Olivia would snap back, saying my mom had no right to tell her what to do since she wasn't her real mom. My dad gave it a shot too, trying to get Olivia to stop being so mean to me. They tried all sorts of things, from getting really strict with her to sitting down and trying to talk things out calmly. But Olivia, she didn't care. Nothing they said or did made any difference to her. They even threatened to send her away somewhere if she didn't stop, but Olivia just threw those threats right back in their faces, knowing they wouldn't really do it. As time went on, Olivia didn't get any better. By the time we were in high school, she was really out of control. She started smoking, hanging out with a really rough crowd, and sneaking out to drink. Then one night, she got caught. She and her friends were busted for breaking into someone's house after they had been drinking. That was the last straw for our parents. They realized Olivia needed serious help, so they decided to send her away to a place that could hopefully set her straight. After a lot of arguing and pleading, Olivia finally agreed to go to a special place for teenagers who are having a really tough time and are acting out, like a rehab center for troubled teens. She wasn't happy about it, but my dad was super serious. He told her that if she wanted to stay with us and be part of our family, she needed to get her act together. He was worried because her actions were not just hurting us but could also be dangerous for others around her. So during our sophomore year of high school, Olivia left to get the help she needed. She didn't come back home until after we had finished high school. She stayed with her aunt and went to a school close to the rehab center. I didn't really keep in touch with her during this time. I mean, she was the person who made my life miserable, so why would I want to know how she was doing? My parents would go see her every weekend and always asked if I wanted to join them, but I was like, no way. While she was gone, her friends at school stopped bothering me. It was like I didn't even exist to them anymore, which was actually pretty nice because it meant no more bullying. My high school years got a lot better from that point on. When Olivia came back, she had finished her schooling and seemed to have changed. The first thing she did was apologize to me for all the mean stuff she had done. She seemed much calmer, and I could tell she was trying to be a better person, so I decided to forgive her. As high school was winding down and we were getting ready for college, things between me and Olivia started to shift a bit. We were about to head off to different colleges, which meant we'd be moving out and starting a new chapter of our lives. When we did come back home for holidays, I noticed Olivia was acting differently towards me. She wasn't exactly friendly, but she wasn't mean anymore either. Instead of bothering me all the time, she just sort of ignored me, which honestly I was totally okay with. Being ignored was way better than being bullied. Our parents saw the change too, but they didn't push us to be super close or act like sisters, given everything that had happened. Them seeing us not fighting was probably a relief. Then I started dating Jake, and after we had been together for a year, I decided it was time he met my family. I brought him home for Thanksgiving, and to my surprise, everyone got along great, even Olivia. She actually joined in on the conversation, which was something new. She seemed to get along with Jake pretty well, which was a bit of a surprise. After I started dating Jake, Olivia suddenly seemed interested in being more friendly with me. She would reach out to talk, which was something she never really did before. It was like she was trying to make up for the past in her own way. I was really confused by how Olivia was acting all nice out of the blue, and I couldn't shake off this little worry that maybe she liked Jake, my boyfriend. So one day, I just straight up asked her if she was trying to be friends with me because of Jake. She laughed it off and said that wasn't it at all. The real reason she started changing her attitude towards me was something Jake said during our first dinner together. He talked about how much he loved his brothers and sisters, and that got Olivia thinking. She realized she had been pretty awful to me for a long time, especially after she came back from the rehab place. Jake's words made her want to fix things between us, not because she had a crush on him, but because she saw how important family was. Olivia admitted she used to blame me for her having to go to that rehab center for troubled teens, but after a while, she understood that it wasn't my fault. She was the one who messed up. She decided it was time to stop treating me badly and try to really be a part of our family. So Jake kind of helped her see things differently, even if he didn't know it. I was really confused by how Olivia started acting nicer and wanting to be friends all of a sudden, and part of me wondered if it was because she liked Jake. So I just asked her straight up if she was being friendly because of him. She laughed it off and said no. She explained that hearing Jake talk about how close he was with his siblings made her think about our own relationship. She realized she wanted to fix things between us, not because of Jake himself, but because he made her see how important family relationships are. Olivia admitted she used to blame me for her being sent to that rehab place for troubled teens, and it took her a while to understand that it was her own actions that got her there, not me. She said she wanted to make things right with me, to really be part of the family, and that meant apologizing sincerely and trying to improve our relationship. Her words really got to me, and I decided to forgive her and try to be friends. That decision felt right for a long time. Olivia even got involved in planning my wedding, and our relationship seemed to be getting better. We weren't super close, but things were definitely better than before. We made a point to catch up regularly, and by the time Jake and I got engaged, Olivia and I were on pretty good terms. I had no reason to suspect anything weird between her and Jake. They both acted totally normal around each other at family gatherings and even after our engagement. Nothing seemed off. It was like everything was finally falling into place. I was totally caught off guard by everything. I never once suspected that Jake could like Olivia. He was really good at pretending he was all about me, and Olivia was just as good at acting like my friend. It wasn't until they ran off together that I realized what was actually going on. After they left, my parents were super angry and wanted to go after them, but I just didn't have the energy for more drama. I was already feeling super low and embarrassed by the whole situation. They had made me look like a fool, disappearing just a week before what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. So I asked my parents to just let it be because I needed to focus on healing, not chasing after them. I tried to keep busy with work and slept a lot, basically doing anything I could to not think about how hurt I was. But just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I got a postcard from Olivia from California. To make things even more painful, she included photos of her and Jake looking really happy together. It was like another blow to my already broken heart. After everything went down, Olivia sent me that postcard from California. It seemed like she was trying to say sorry for shocking me right before the wedding, but it was pretty clear she wasn't actually sorry. Instead, it felt like she was just trying to make me even more upset. That's when it hit me. She had never really gotten over being sent away years ago. She still blamed me for it and never actually wanted to be my friend. She was just pretending, using me to get closer to Jake. Looking back, it feels like a really twisted plan. Just a few days after getting that postcard, I was a total wreck. I couldn't sleep, and I kept going over everything in my mind. It was just too much. Going through this was super hard, and I ended up needing therapy for months to work through the hurt and the trust issues that came from this betrayal. And the postcards, they didn't stop coming. Olivia kept sending them, showing off her life with Jake, but I never gave in to the drama or responded. Eventually, about a year later, she stopped sending them. Our parents were really upset about it and naturally cut all ties with her after that. They didn't even try to reach out to her after the first postcard, and that was a huge loss for Olivia because she was all set to inherit her dad's business. She was a business major, and that was a part of the reason why she had chosen that route for herself, because she wanted to join her father. But of course, after what she had pulled off, our father cut all ties with her and told me I could join him instead. I didn't have a business degree and was actually a history major, so I needed to learn the ropes first. My father said that it was not a problem because he was willing to teach me everything that he knew so that I could eventually take over the business instead of Olivia. I agreed and started to work on it so I could learn how to run the business, and he could retire and hand over the reins to me. After a while, I worked really hard for a couple of years, and last year, I was finally promoted and my father retired. It was an amazing feeling because I had started from scratch and had to learn everything. But now everything was smooth sailing under me and has been for some time. Thanks to me, my parents can now spend more time together without worrying about the business because I'm taking care of it. I pretty much stopped thinking about Jake after I started working for my father because that took up all my time. That, along with therapy, helped me move on, and I would say now I've completely moved on and don't think about them or what they did. I never thought that they would ever reach out to me again, let alone ask for my help, because it would take a lot of guts and utter lack of functioning brain cells to ask me to help them out after they screwed me over and made a fool out of me and then went on to rub it in my face as well. But I guess that Olivia and Jake really do lack brains now because they did reach out to me a few days back. I was at home because it was the weekend, and around lunchtime, I heard someone frantically ringing my doorbell. I thought it was the pizza that I had ordered, so I didn't think much of it. When I opened the door, I received the biggest surprise of my life when instead of a delivery guy, I found Olivia standing outside my house, looking really worried. I didn't know what to say, so I just silently waited for her to say something. While looking at her, I realized that she was definitely here to ask for help because she was looking destitute, and her appearance gave her away. Even as a kid, Olivia always used to dress well. But when I saw her, she was dressed in old, faded clothes, and her jeans were way too short. She herself looked like she had been eating. I had already made up my mind that whatever she was about to ask me, the answer was going to be no. So when she said that she needed me to help her out because she and Jake had been struggling for a really long time, ever since he lost his job a couple of months ago, I ended up laughing in her face. Jake had started drinking instead of looking for a new job, and even though Olivia had been trying to find a job for herself, she couldn't because she had quit everything to stay at home and do all the household work when she first moved away with Jake. Because of that, she hadn't been working in the recent past, and the gap in her resume made her a weaker contender for all the jobs that she had been applying to. Olivia told me that she had heard from a couple of relatives that our father had retired and had handed over the reign of the business to me, so now she was here to ask me if I would be willing to hire Jake and give him something to do. Olivia told me that she had come all the way here only to ask me for help and said that she was sorry for whatever she did in the past. But now she was counting on me to bail her out. She said that she hadn't even approached our parents yet and had come straight to my house to ask for help because she knew that I had a kind heart and she felt awfully guilty about betraying me in the past. But she was sure that I wouldn't turn her away now that she needed my help. Her entitlement was so ridiculous that I ended up laughing in her face and told her to apply somewhere else because I don't hire cheaters. Then I shut the door on her face and walked back into the living room, preparing to call the cops if she didn't get off my property soon. Thankfully, she did go away that day, but she hasn't left me alone yet. After her visit, the first thing I did was call our parents and tell them about it. They told me that they had heard from a couple of their neighbors that Olivia was back in town without Jake, but they hadn't bought it. We live in a relatively small town, so everybody knows everybody, and we were quickly able to find out that Olivia had been here for about a week before she finally paid me a visit and had been living with one of her cronies from high school. It was probably her high school friend who had told her where I was living and also about the fact that I had inherited the business that was rightfully supposed to be hers, and now she was really milking that. A couple of days after she visited me, she decided to go meet our parents to tell them how heartless I was being. She had expected them to be on her side now that she had the upper hand on who was suffering more, but she couldn't have been more mistaken. My father told her that the business was now mine to run, and I could make whatever decision I deemed fit. He didn't have any say in it anymore because he wasn't going to micromanage me, and my mother reminded her that she was the one who had screwed me over by running away with my fiancé after pretending to be my friend for years, and now she completely deserved whatever was coming to her. She had lost the right to ask any of us for help, especially me after she had been sending me postcards to torment me. She tried to defend herself by saying that it was all in the past and she's a different person now, but my parents told her that she had to leave because they wanted nothing to do with her anymore. That led to her throwing a tantrum at their house and claiming that they had always favored me over her and treated me like the golden child. She told my father that in spite of being his own flesh and blood, he had never treated her like that and acted as if I was his only daughter and she was worth nothing to him. When he told her that he had made more allowances for her behavior in the past than any other parent in the world would, she said that it still didn't matter. I had everything that she was supposed to have, including the business that I was showing off about. She said it wasn't even her fault that Jake had fallen for her and wanted to spend his life with her instead of me, but for some reason, she was the one being punished for it. Olivia claimed that the postcards she had sent were meant to be a genuine apology, and she wasn't even trying to torment me. Honestly, I haven't been able to stop thinking about that since my father told me what she said. In a way, it's true that she was supposed to inherit this business and be in my place, but she really lost it because of her own actions. I had no part to play in that. I never told my father to cut her out of his life and hand over the business to me. He did it of his own volition, and it feels kind of unfair for her to blame me for doing this. Also, the thing she said about me being the golden child is absolutely not true, but I can see why she would feel that way because in her head, she was the one who was sent away because I complained about her and her incessant bullying. A parent deciding to send the kid away is a really big deal, and I know it was rough on my father, but again, that's not his fault or my fault. If he hadn't taken the necessary steps to prevent it, Olivia might have turned out to be a criminal or something because that's the way she was going. Apart from that, I don't really think she was trying to apologize with the postcards and was probably just trying to cover it up by saying that it was supposed to be a genuine apology. I just feel bad for her because her husband turned out to be completely useless, and now she has to bail him out, so I can't imagine how difficult that must have been for her. So I kind of regret treating her the way that I did. I have everything now, and she has nothing, so I can't help but feel sorry for her. That's just who I am as a person. Besides, it has been a long time, and I don't feel like holding on to that grudge anymore. But I also don't want to help her out in any way. The most I can do is give them my sympathy, but I really don't want to hire them or help them out with money. I think it's enough that I even feel bad for her after everything that she put me through. Most people probably wouldn't bat an eye. The only reason I even feel bad for her right now is because this business was actually supposed to be hers, and now that I'm in a position of power, I'm finally getting back at her. Her words about me being the golden child or maybe just plain old imposter syndrome, but I feel weird about this. So am I the jerk for refusing to hire my ex-fiancé who eloped with my stepsister now that they're struggling with money and help them out? Update 1. The comments here just confuse me even more because some of you said that I was doing the right thing by turning them away, and the other half said I had always been the golden child and that is why Olivia started to act out, so this wasn't as helpful as I had thought it was going to be. I decided to talk to my parents because every single time that I have had to face problems in my life, I have always approached them for advice, and I did the same this time as well. They told me that I had no reason to feel sorry for Olivia because everybody had gone above and beyond to try and make her a better person, but if she wasn't willing to turn over a new leaf at any point in her life, then there was not much that we could do for her. My father told me that he had every intention of letting her take over the business had she behaved herself and been a good daughter, but she failed at everything and made a total mockery out of our family. After that, she would be a fool to expect him to let her take over or even be a part of the family anymore. That made me feel considerably better because talking to my parents always does, so I try not to let myself feel guilty about things that I don't do anymore. Update 2. About 1 week has passed since Olivia showed up at my door, and since her visit to my parents, we haven't heard from her. I almost forgot that she had gone back to calling to Jake until today when she showed up at my workplace to make a scene. It was horrible because she just waltzed into the place, and she had known the ins and outs ever since she was a child and got in without alerting security quite easily. Then she went on to take her place in front of my office and started to shout about how I had stolen this business from right under her nose by pretending to be a good little girl for our parents and constantly being a bootlegger so they would approve of me. Apparently, I was responsible for vilifying her by falsely accusing her of bullying me throughout our childhood, and even talking to my father into sending her to rehab just so I could cement my position as the golden child of the family. She went on to announce that this business was supposed to be hers, but now I was refusing to even let her be a part of it because I was jealous that Jake had chosen her over me, unlike our parents who had always favored me. After hearing the yelling, I decided to go out and check it out for myself after calling security. I tried to tell her to shut up, but she went on for a good few minutes until she was finally thrown out of the building. I decided to call my dad before calling the cops to get his opinion, and he was furious, so he told me to go right ahead and call the police. Thankfully, when the cops showed up, she was still lurking nearby, probably waiting for me to leave that building so she could yell at me or maybe do something worse like physically attacking me. The cops took her away and charged her with trespassing and disturbing the peace, but they were just minor charges, and she can probably get off with either just a fine or maybe community service, worst case scenario, but it's certainly going on record and that's never good. I told my dad that she had been charged and arrested, and expected him to be a little upset about it, but he only seemed exasperated and told me that he was just tired of this and wanted a break from having to deal with her insanity. I honestly feel bad for him because it can't be easy having a daughter like Olivia and being blamed for everything that goes wrong in her life, even though most of the time, it's her own fault. Update 3. Okay, so I think Olivia has returned to California because it's been a couple of days, and we haven't heard from her, which is weird because we expected her to lash out at us after her arrest. My dad asked around, and a couple of people saw her heading towards the airport the other day, so I'm assuming that she has left. It's honestly a huge relief that she is gone now because I was genuinely afraid that she was going to try to do something explosive to get our attention next, and that's always bad news. I don't know what she's going to do about the whole situation with Jake now because it seems unlikely that she's going to get help from anyone else after this. I just hope that she finds something to do and gets out of this mess. And no, I'm not even being kind or compassionate right now. I have very selfish reasons to say this, and that's because I know that if she doesn't find a way out of this mess, then she will just come back here with Jake and bother us some more, and I don't want that. So I genuinely hope and pray that either she or Jake finds a job and are able to support themselves. Either way, I don't have to hear from her for a couple of weeks at least, and I'm relieved that this nightmare is over now. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Before we start, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Now let's continue. My wife got bored with me and called her ex to come and F her. So this is how I exposed her by installing recorders. Hello everyone. I've been a lurker on this forum for about half a year, but can't keep reading anymore and need an opinion on my situation. I'll appreciate any feedback. I, 35M, am, and my wife, 31F, stopped having any sex since 6 months ago, and I'm not sure what to do. Important information. We have 2 boys. One is 3 years old and the other one is 1.5. We're also in the middle of building a house. I'm not a person who likes to watch the world burn, and I prefer to act as soon as possible to fix any issues. So I initiated a conversation with my wife. It was to find out what happened. I asked her, "Why did you stop talking to me, hugging me, kissing me? Why did you start to mind the touch of my hand on your body? Why did you stop having any form of ins with me?" At first, she didn't want to talk. There was a very hard cover to break, but she finally opened up. What I learned is that, basically, I'm not enough for her. She's doing everything herself, she can't count on me. She is wearing the pants in the house. She is the decision maker, and she is handling the kids. She told me I would be better alone. I'm an introvert but not a hardcore one, etc. It was pretty shocking to hear, but I accepted what she said, and I told her I understood her pain and I will work on my behavior so that she won't have to be stressed about it. I love her so much. I prefer to agree and not start a fight. However, I do have my own mind. I do have my thoughts that don't let me sleep sometimes. There is a massive red flag that brought me to this group. Her charges are far from true, that is my opinion of course, but I truly believe I fit in the norms of a good husband. I'm working around 8 to 9 hours from home, but after that I take care of my boys. I play with them, feed them, take the older one to the swimming pool, put them to sleep, etc. I also wake up in the middle of the night if there's a need to do so. Aside from kids, I care about the household. I do the dishes and groceries and clean up a bit. She prefers to clean because I'm not that efficient in it. I take care of the car, things about the new house, etc. I do a lot to make her life easier. I do realize it's hard with 2 little boys. The thing is, I'm not a person who is proactive. There are people who can't sit for 5 minutes on a couch without thinking about what to do next, what to fix, what business to start, what chores are left to do, and what to fix. Her father is like that. I'm not. Once a day is over, the kids are sleeping, work is all done, house is cleaned up. I prefer to watch a movie, play some video games, and ease my mind. I'm also not a person who could start his own business. I'm best at my field and prefer to be told what to do and do my work, but do it well. There are a lot of people like that, and I'm not ashamed of it. I don't pursue any spectacular career. I don't dream of having millions in my bank account. I'm just a regular people pleaser, good-looking guy who wanted to have a healthy, happy family and earn a decent buck. I realized she started to have an issue with that, despite being happily married for 4 years and happily together with me for 5 years before that. The talk happened in December. After that, I started to work against my personality, which affected in doing some proactive work like extra groceries, extra house fixes, basically not sitting on my crap in the evenings. No rest. She liked that, but it didn't change her approach to me. So I had to initiate the second talk. Seeing how she treats me, I asked her in the beginning, "Do you want to save the marriage?" She replied, "I don't know." Hard to swallow, but in order to continue, I asked her, "Do you want to go to a marriage counseling?" She replied, "I don't know." Then I told her, "It's not a moment to don't know if our kids may have parents living separately soon." After hearing that, she agreed, so I had to find a therapist. She didn't show any interest in that during the talk. She told me some painful things like, "I married you only to impress my parents and married sisters so that we can be a big happy family and we can have beautiful children. I married you because I was enchanted, not in love." I also learned she had a meeting with her fellow priest and discussed our marriage. Anyway, I found a good therapist and we're now before our 3rd meeting. We learned that we have different love languages. I need touch, she needs work done. However, since the beginning of our counseling, she doesn't give me touch, no hugs. After the 2 sessions, I asked her if she liked it, how did she feel, and all she had to say was that she's uncomfortable with the fact she needed to share our life details with an unknown woman. When the therapist heard we're not sleeping in the same rooms for 6 months, she was shocked. My wife explained that it's because she's sleeping with children on the bed, and there is no place for me there. The therapist replied that it is a very bad example for the kids not to allow a husband in the bedroom, and if there is no place on the bed, go to a damn IKEA and buy a single bed, put it next to the big one. I did just that, bought it, put it together, and I'm sleeping there now. The funny thing is, I still feel like I'm sleeping alone. She is far to the left, there are boys in the middle, and I'm far to the right. Since the beginning of the issue, my wife changed her testimony a bit. She started saying that she's depressed because of sitting with the kids at home all the time. She told me she said all the things because she was too emotional, etc. I would never say anything like that under any circumstances to her. But I guess I had to believe her. She just recently went back to work, and we hired a nanny. The only change in her behavior is that we started to talk, but I'm not only her friend, I'm also her husband, and there is no ins. It doesn't look like it's going to get better, no signs of it. She doesn't care about next MC sessions. I have to keep scheduling them. About the S, she told me she doesn't need it at all and she's been doing it only because I wanted it. I felt like an abuser. She never was crazy about lovemaking. We had it once a week, which is fine for me. Could have been more often, but it's fine. This year we had S2 times, and both times it was pity-duty lovemaking. One was at the beginning of January because I had a birthday. Now I have to have a birthday to get laid, and the other after counseling when I initiated, but she was just lying on her back, covering her chest and waiting for me to finish. That made me not want it anymore. That's not what it's about. When I bring the topic up, she just says, "That's what I am. If you don't like it, just leave me. I don't know what to do, please advise." Date 1. There was one situation when my wife tried to call her ex-boyfriend 4 times in a row at 10:30 p.m. She didn't talk with him but tried to reach him. I know that because we used to have an app with our 2 numbers saved, and I could see incoming and outgoing phone calls for each number. After that, I went nuts. Why is my wife calling her ex 4 times at 10:30 p.m.? I decided to check her message on her laptop. I felt terrible, but for me it was justified. We're married and have kids, and she is acting weird. After calling him 4 times, she wrote him a message. "I'm going to keep calling until you pick up and talk to me as a normal human being." When I asked her about it, she lied. She wasn't calling him, so I showed her the app and her outgoing calls. She had nothing else to do but to admit she did try to reach him. I asked her why, and she explained she was calling back, knowing that. She also wrote to him after calling. I asked her if she wrote anything to him after. She said no. Then I showed her the message she had written to him, and she explained that he got drunk and called her, and started talking some mumbo-jumbo. When she heard that, she told him to F off and hung up. Then she felt wrong about it and tried to call him 4 times because he wasn't picking up. Finally, she wrote what she wrote, but he didn't reply. I don't know what to think about it. It happened around the time she stopped being intimate with me. Her opinion on the situation is that for her, it's not weird or bad that she kept it from me. It's not important for her. The thing is, any contact with an ex is a bad sign. It's unacceptable for me. Is she cheating? There is no ins between us for 6 months. This is when the calls happened. Update 2. Thank you all for your insight. At first, I couldn't believe how many of you claimed that she is indeed cheating on me. It was like some science fiction to me, something I would see in a movie, maybe something my wife would never do. However, today everything changed. It became a fact. I feel stupid to be just another person like that, but I guess this is how life is now. I know I promised calling her ex and talking to her family, but I decided to take a step back and play it cool. Can you believe how easy that was? All I did is I installed a voice-activated recorder in our car, not even a GPS. It was there just 3 days. She used the car to work, and then she went to a workout, and finally she called him or he called her twice. I don't know exactly who called who, but I heard every word. It was a video conversation over the phone. I heard all the stuff I needed, things about things about each other's life. They talked like me and my wife 9 years ago when we met each other, same attraction, jokes, etc. Something I don't have with her for a while. Things about vacation planning. She wants to visit him this July. Wow, she gave him a time frame of 2 years to move back to our country. I can't believe it. Now I'm after listening to an hour-long recording of this crap. There are some things I need to process. I need to meet an attorney next week, etc. All I wanted to say is thank you. You opened my eyes. If it wasn't for you, I would have never bought the freaking voice recording device, and to think I felt bad placing it in the car. My God, I will be updating. Right now, I need to chill a bit, keep thinking about my kids and what she has done. They started it in September last year. Took me 2 months to notice changes in her behavior. I will be taking care of my old father for an entire next week in another city. This means she won't be going to work for a week. Instead, she will use my home office. This also means she will be talking to him in the office most likely. Would you place the recorder in the office for the next week? Or I have enough. Update 3. Started in September last year, so I'm out of the picture for a long time right now. She doesn't want to spend a moment with me around the apartment we rent. She always has some stuff to do and goes to her parents, friends, etc. She even goes to sleep or just goes to lie in the bed when we put our kids to sleep, 1 and 3 years old. The recording tells it all. She mentions she loves him, that she wants to visit him and have s with him. They talk a lot about his crap. She told him she wants to go on vacation with him. Also told him she will be his wife and that she'll leave me soon. She was even talking about his favorite lovemaking position, so yes, they had s. It's all there. The point is, she doesn't know that I know. Her all family and friends don't know. They just think we have a temporary crisis. She is one of 3 sisters, Catholic, every Sunday in church. We live in a small town, 20,000 people. We recently built a house, but it's not finished. I feel like she will file for divorce very soon. I can see she is suffering with me in the apartment, and she can't handle it anymore. Her body language and total lack of any conversation shows it. She wants me out soon so that there will be some time when I'm gone, and then within 2 years, the AP will move to the small town to live with her in our house and my 2 little boys. In the recording, she mentioned she gives him 2 years to come back to our country. People will understand that she needs a father for her kids and won't complain. The AP is her first boyfriend. They were together for 7 years before she married me. We are 9 years together. AP is living abroad but visits our country frequently. I refuse to be played like that. Now I have an attorney, and will be meeting him soon about it. I can basically destroy her reputation by showing bits of the recording to anybody. Please help me with any advice. What do I do when she serves me papers? The attorney says my papers need a month of preparation. I would never guess I would be dealing with a monster like that. Update 4. I met with the attorney and learned some significant things. It turned out that going to burn her world way would not be so smart. The reason for that is that we have kids, and I have to co-parent with her for the next 15 to 16 years. Another reason is I have a lot of respect for her family, and I don't want to get them involved in the divorce as witnesses. Also, I would not win kids because they are small and have to be with her mother in the small town, 1 hour away from me in the capital city. I would be an every other weekend dad anyway. Finally, I would not have permission to sell our house because the kids need to have good living conditions and won't have another place to live. The place they live now is a property of her dad. It's temporary. As crappy as it sounds, it's the reality in Poland, Europe. After our conversation, the attorney sent her papers. They were set to be delivered right after Easter in Poland. It lasts 2 days here. It was Sunday and Monday. I faked it all at the table. Alcohol helped a lot. Yesterday, Tuesday, I had a day off work and was taking care of my 1-year-old son. She went to work to the capital city 1 hour away. In the meantime, my brother helped me take all my stuff from the apartment and put it in his car. The postman delivered the divorce papers, actually an invitation to mediation, so we could divide everything like civilized people and divorce amicably. The paper states that she is in a relationship with this guy, and it's the reason the divorce will happen. The evidence I have will serve as a leverage when establishing child support, etc. When she entered the house, I told her that I know everything. I have irrefutable proof. I'm deeply wounded by it, and she needs to contact my lawyer. Then I gave her the divorce papers and left to visit her parents. Of course, she started asking what I know and how I know, and denied everything. Her parents were in shock but believed me. I recorded it all just like my attorney ordered me to do. It started with my questions if they think I'm a good, caring husband and father. They approved, and now she can't use them as witnesses against me in court. Like I said, they believed me and understood that it's a horrible thing she's done, and she destroyed their, mine, and our kids' lives. I thanked them for understanding and went to the capital city. In the meantime, I called one friend, and he took care of distributing the news to her friends. 2 hours later, my brother-in-law called me and informed me that she admitted she's been cheating on me with the AP, but she didn't admit to actually having s with him. He informed me that everybody is on my side, and she destroyed our family. He told me her sister visited my soon-to-be ex-wife and told her how evil she is, but in the end, he told me that everything can be saved, that he also cheated on his wife, she forgave him, and now they are very happy. Then her father called and also admitted that it's completely her fault, and she doesn't realize what she's done. He told me the AP will never enter his house and that he will stop financially helping the soon-to-be ex-wife. He even called the AP, but he didn't pick up. In the end, he said he believes it can be saved. Finally, her other sister sent me a text telling me that she fully supports me. But again, She believes it can be saved. I don't like that at all because I don't believe it can be saved. I'm positive about it. I'm afraid they will cling to the fact that I don't have some sort of a lovemaking tape of them, and my reasons are not enough to leave her. I have recordings of her saying, "Make sure you'll last more than 3 seconds when I'll come visit you in Holland. I wonder if your dad's crap is the same as yours. You know what? I'll come to that woman and will ask her how long is your brother's crap, and I will tell her how long is yours. I love you. I'm going to leave my husband. Please record yourself and send me a video. Your favorite position is crappy style with the back straight. I'm showing you how your life with me is going to look like. I'm giving you 2 years to move back here. All that in connection with the lack of emotions towards me for 7 months. Furthermore, right after the confrontation, she told me she never stopped loving him. This is proof enough to me. What do you think? Anyway, right now, like many of you mentioned before, she is crawling back after her family confronted her about it. She is writing me texts like, "I didn't know what I was doing. I can't imagine living without you. I'm so sorry for everything I've done. I'm waiting with kids for your comeback." She also said that she didn't mean to tell me that she always loved him. I don't know, they make me feel like I jumped the gun with the divorce because I don't have the actual lovemaking tape. They don't know that all they know is that I have proof, and she is not admitting to actually having sex with him. It's believable because he is in Holland, but he could have visited her here. Update 5. Many of you told me that now that the papers have been served, she is going to start crawling back in order to save her face in town and in front of the family, and to get me back because she needs a lot of help with our 2 little boys. It happened. She started writing to me on Messenger, but not too frequently. All of the messages were the same. "I can't imagine my life without you. I love you and only you. Some photos of our kids and the message, "We're waiting for you and love you very, very much." And that is it. It's been 5 weeks, and she hasn't called me once and hasn't visited me once. She had many occasions, literally driving by at my parents' house where I currently reside. Only messenger texts, far in between. We also saw each other a couple of times exchanging kids, and she didn't try to apologize or anything, just hi and bye. Her family started to communicate with me much more frequently. Her father called me twice. Her mother sent me a dozen texts with some links to Christian pages when they teach about forgiveness. Her one sister texted me and told me she's very sorry, and it's all because my wife has been possessed by some evil spirit. Her other sister expressed how my wife ruined our family and doesn't expect me to come back to her. My brother-in-law even came over and took me out for a beer. He wasn't trying to be persuasive at all, just like a conversation about what happened and what will happen in the future if I won't come back. Sure, he would like me to come back, but wasn't pushing. Basically, all of these talks were like, "We can't believe she did what she did. We would like you to come back to her, but we understand if you won't do it." However, the day arrived when I made up my mind, and my lawyer told her lawyer that I decided that I'm not able to forgive her in time, and I want a divorce. My lawyer presented my terms of the divorce, and now we're waiting for her lawyer's response. While I'm waiting for their answer, her sister started blaming me and literally told me that I'm going to destroy this marriage. She stated very clearly that it was my wife who started all this by being very selfish. But right now, she is very sorry, she's crying, and wishing she could turn back time. Now it is me who is selfish and who will destroy the marriage by divorcing her. It is on me now because I could cancel the divorce and just come back to my kids. I wouldn't need to come back to my wife, just come back to raise my 2 boys. She told me how I'm full of anger and how it will just evolve over time. She told me I should just suck it up and continue living with my wife. She portrayed this divorce as my revenge on her, but explained that this is really a revenge on our kids too. I can't comprehend it. I knew from you that it's going to happen, that the situation is going to start shifting and her family will flip on me, but it's still shocking. For a moment today, I felt guilty that it is all my fault, that my wife treated me like garbage for over half a year, that she decided to abandon me physically and emotionally, that she wanted to leave me. Yeah, they sway me hard. It's very, very hard, but I won't change my mind. The divorce will happen. Seems like they now have this kind of narrative in which I'm the guy who is abandoning kids. I was thinking of destroying this argument by presenting my terms of getting back together, which she won't agree on most likely. I don't love her, But I would do it for the kids because I love them immensely. No marriage, just partnership. Separate finances. She leaves her hometown and moves with kids to the capital city where I live. GPS in the car till she stops driving in her old age, and daily phone checks. All that after I get my 7 months of dates with random girls. I would also not hesitate to cheat during the relationship and don't ever tell her. If she finds out, there is no marriage anyway. I don't care. What do you think? It's just an idea, nothing serious. I probably won't do it anyway, but don't have any other idea to shut the family's mouth about me abandoning the kids. In Poland, Europe, small children like ours have to be near the mother in case of a divorce. I can't have them since she lives in a small town, 1 hour away from me, and kids have their kindergarten and nursery there. We can't share them 50-50ths. I'll be an every other weekend dad with all access whenever I want. Update 6. It's been 2 months since the day I confronted her, handed her divorce papers, and moved to the capital city, 1 hour away from the small town we used to live in together. I live with my parents, sleeping on the couch in their living room. The dining table morphed into a work/entertainment place, and my clothes are hanging on every chair around. I work from home for 8 hours. After that, I usually help my old parents, 88 and 71 old, with everyday chores around the house. I do groceries and drive them to doctor appointments. Apart from that, I go to the gym or cinema to do everything in order to escape negative thoughts about what happened. I see my kids every weekend. She drops them off and I drive them back. The weekends are great. I find myself truly happy when I'm around them. I did a paternity test and the boys are mine. There is no confusion here. The situation with divorce terms is a bit muddy now. It's hard to say what's going to happen since I'm living with my parents and, as a father of 2 and a grown man, I don't have any other place to live in. I want a significant amount of money from my wife, plus she is taking over the mortgage for the house. She agreed for the mortgage takeover but offered only 1/3 of the money I want, explaining this is how much I put in the building of the house. The thing is, I didn't cause this situation. I'm not guilty of it, and I need a place to live. 1/3 of the amount I want is not going to help buy me a flat, so the conversation between our attorneys continues. The reason she's offering me the small amount is because she wants to keep the house. However, last time we talked, I learned she might be pushed to sell it. This is the thing she should be doing from the beginning. She's not going to be able to pay the mortgage and pay me. We'll see how it unfolds. Other financial things like child support money she wants way too much. It also needs to be agreed on. She also claims I should be the one who picks up the kids from the small town and drive them back by the end of the weekend. It's a lot of fuel and time. It should be her dropping them off and me driving them back. So as you can see, she is the one responsible for all that, but at the same time she is ready to argue about divorce terms. Her sister invited me to her daughter's communion. It was last Sunday, and I went so I could spend some more time with my boys. Every family member is well informed that my decision is final, so they didn't even try to talk to me about it. I just took care of my boys while everyone was drinking and eating at the table. However, at one point, my wife asked me if my decision is truly final. I looked at her and told her as calmly as I could possibly do it. Yes, it is final and nothing is going to change it. I am here now for my boys to spend as much time with them as I can. But she followed with how she is truly remorseful and how much she regrets what she's done. She told me she ended the relationship with the AP, that she went to an exorcist, told him every detail of the affair, and left it in God's hands. To that, I replied that I don't care about her priest, and if there's anyone she should be admitting to everything, it's me. Really, at that point, it was just laughable, but I continued, okay, if you're truly remorseful, I am now here giving you one chance to tell me all the truth. Tell me how many times you had sex with him. She replied she didn't. Then I asked her, remember when you had that party with your friends from work back in November? Why did you rent a flat for a night, Airbnb, instead of sleeping in one of your friends' apartments? After hearing that, she went numb, couldn't find any words besides, why do you need to keep torturing yourself with it? I explained that if she was truly remorseful, she wouldn't continue to lie 2 months after I left her. That was just one example. I told her that to me, over video chat is the same, and I know she had it with him. She couldn't even count how many times she'd done it with the AP. After that, I told her, "How do you imagine getting back together? You start a topic with me and lie the next second. Do you know that I would be checking your phone every day? What do you think about that?" She replied that wouldn't be trust, it would just be treating me like garbage. Then our son interrupted, and the conversation was leaning to the end. I finished it with, "Remember, you didn't just cheat on me. You cheated on our two little wonderful boys, too." It destroyed her. She started yelling that it is the last time I told her something like that in front of our kids. It's funny because her sister has told me how my wife is suffering and crying every day because of all this. It's a true two-faced woman crying in front of the family and yet still lying to me. She even told me that if she wanted, she would be with the AP and her family couldn't do anything about it. Like I should be thankful that she ended it with him, and now she is in control of not being with him. I guess I'm just venting at this point and keeping you up to date. Thanks for the support you all gave me. I will stay strong and finish this mess one day. I think it's not going to end well for my boys, and they will need some psychologist help. The older one is nervous lately, but I will always be there for them. Update 7. Our attorneys finally came into an agreement, and the divorce will happen shortly. She is taking the unfinished house, and the mortgage is exclusively hers now. The house is for the kids. I don't want anybody to tell me in the future that I caused the selling of the house as part of my revenge for her. Plus, I don't want to live in it in her small hometown, an hour away from the capital city where I am now. However, I am taking what I put in it, and that amount is not bad at all. The child support amount is not bad either. Plus, we agreed that she will be dropping the kids at my place in the capital city every other weekend. I'll just have to drive them back. Now I see my kids almost every weekend, but it is not enough for me. Causes me so much pain. I can't handle it sometimes. I just can't allow for 1- and 3-year-old boys to live without a father because of a woman who can't behave. I just wish I could have them, but that's not possible because of the law in Poland. I will have to start driving there in the middle of the week or something to survive. As for her, she keeps messaging me that she loves me, wishes she could turn back time, that she is suffering because of her deeds every day. She softened to a point when she even told me that she no longer thinks checking her phone would be treating her like garbage. She allowed for it, told me I could do it all the time. She said we could move out of the small town to the capital city. She agreed to tell me everything about the affair, every detail of it, if I'll take her back. She came to my parents and apologized. Something must have changed. Somebody must have told her something. She's willing to do everything now, actually showing some remorse. Last time she messaged me, she thanked me for not selling the house and ending it with her amicably, agreeing to my terms. Also, she said, "Let me just tell you that it will not be true. I don't want this divorce and love you very much. I know you don't believe it and I understand it, but I want you to know that I hope I will have a chance to prove my love to you one day. I love you and I'm sorry for everything." There are no words to express how her words affect me. The vision of my boys growing up in the capital city instead of the small town is tempting. I really believe she has a hard time alone with 2 small boys. But she did what she did. She cheated and ruined it all. I thought it's going to be better with time, but the wound heals very slowly. I will stay the course. I will end this. I will update one day, maybe when I'll be finally happy. What do you think? Do you think my wife is truly remorseful? She only agreed to tell me the details of her infidelity when I'll come back, not right away. She didn't offer checking her phone right away. She didn't offer moving to the capital city from the small town right away. 3 months had to pass so she could show some remorse. When she apologizes, she is not even calling me or visiting me. She is doing it over Messenger. Her family turned out to be fully on her side now. Her mother calling me a narcissist, and her sister claiming I want to make money of the divorce and leave a woman with 2 little boys. Yesterday, I visited my kids for a brief time, and she offered I could stay for the night. I left, of course. I would appreciate some insight. Update 8. D-Day was April 7th, and here's my mindset after almost half a year. Such complex situations require answering the same questions every day. In my case, the questions are, do I still love her? Could I go back to her just for the kids? Do I want to go back to her small town where she lives and finish building the house? Would I feel comfortable with myself in 5 to 10 years knowing what she'd done? The answer to all the questions is a definite no, without any hesitation at this point. That's it. Yes, I love my kids immensely and would want to see them every day, but I can't. I would want to love her, but I can't. Despite the fact she wants me back, I would love to have that family back, but I can't. I would want to forget about everything, but I can't. At one point, I even offered her a second chance, which was her moving to my city with kids to start a new life. She didn't even agree, telling me she has her family's help in the small town and won't sell the house because wants our kids to have something in the future. When I told her the family is not the stupid building, but a mother, father, and kids, she only kept her mouth shut. This is when I understood there is no us anymore. There is mutual agreement. There is no middle ground in all this. I explained that I will not continue my life in the small town because this is where the affair started. He noticed her on the street, driving by, and called her. I continued that I absolutely won't finish building a house which is located 1 mile away from her AP's family house, that I will not live another day in my life worrying that she might meet him someday. He lives abroad but visits family 2 to 3 times a year, and then the conversation ended. I hate the small town. She doesn't want to live in the capital. That's it. Here's a little example of her approach to things. We agreed that I'll just take the money I put into the house, and she will keep the building for the kids. Now she even has a problem with that because there's one point in the agreement which states that she is not allowed to sell the house until the kids are 18, adult in Poland. Otherwise, she will have to split the amount of money she would get from selling the house equally between her and me. She claims this is unfair because she plans to finish the house with her own money, and in case of selling it, I would receive half of much more expensive finished house. When I asked her why would she even think of selling it, she answered that she can't predict what her life will be like. I can't trust her at this point. I'm leaning towards just selling the building, only I can't live with the fact that I would be selling the house which was meant to be for my kids. Update 9. She wrote me this message today. I would like you to answer my question. I'm asking you here because if I were to do it in person, we would only shout at each other. You've told me who I am, what I've done, etc., and don't want to talk about it anymore. Having all that discussed, do you want to forgive me, leave the past behind and build the family from scratch? Or you already know you don't and won't ever be able to forgive me and you will never go back to us? Please think about it and let me know if you want our marriage back or not. What does it mean? I think she is in no position to even demand me to be so specific now. I think there might be someone else and she wants to clear the situation with me. I responded, I'm worth more than a messenger conversation, and we'll talk soon. I talked with her. I presented my only 2 conditions for this marriage to last: moving to the capital city and cutting all ties with the AP and his family. The second one is clear for her, but the first one is an obstacle impossible to overcome. She is sorry for what she's done, but not willing to move to Warsaw because we will never have a beautiful big house there. And even small apartments are very expensive to rent. She argues our kids have it easy in the small town. She only pays the bills for the flat she's currently in because it's her father's building. In Warsaw, she would need to pay 4 to 5 times more for a smaller flat, bills plus rent. Plus, she has all the friends and family to go to with kids after work. That's all true. I see the kids are happy, and it's convenient for her. She said if we were to move, it would be only me who will end up happy about it. It would be food for my ego. It's just a tough situation because she is right about this. Even the kindergarten in the small town belongs to her sister, and we pay almost nothing for it. She just put me in an impossible-to-solve situation. I stand my ground. I will not live in the small town, but I also see it really doesn't make sense for them to move. We agreed that, in this case, I'll just keep visiting, spend as much time with kids as I can. I will keep taking them to Warsaw every other weekend. She told me she will not have anybody else. Will just wait for me and that I will see it for myself in the future that she will remain single. I find it hard to believe and I don't really care. Maybe it's good because the kids will have only me as a father figure and not some random guy I don't know. During our conversation, she said some things which showed clearly that she is not a remorseful person. When I asked her why she hasn't even called me once during our separation, only sent me texts. She said she didn't have time with 2 kids running around the house. She told me she will never again speak of the affair and will never give me any more details about it if I'll ask. She is done with it. She will not share anything more with me because I told her family about some facts she didn't want me to tell them. She told me that the AP's been writing to her for many years, and she kept rejecting him, but when he wrote last year, it was because of my passive behavior that she decided to start the affair with him. I just replied that what she just said is beyond disgusting, and she just rolled her eyes and replied, "You're thinking only about yourself. You're the only poor guy in this." Update 10. I somehow learned to live by myself with limited time with my kids, and now I feel like they're dating again. Actually, I started using dating apps some time ago. I get a satisfactory amount of matches, and setting up a date with a nice girl is not an issue in general. I already had 2 to 3 short-term relationships which unfortunately had to end because whenever they wanted to meet me, I was busy with the kids every other weekend. It's totally off, but I wish they lasted longer. I always lied that I have some meeting or whatever, and they considered it a lack of interest from my side. The problem is, how do I navigate this? For now, whenever I meet a new girl, I do not say that I'm almost divorced with 2 kids. I found this is the only way for the second or third date to happen. Is there any solution to this? Is there any chance a girl would stay with me if I told the truth from the beginning? Anyone had a similar situation? I do not necessarily feel like having a serious relationship for now, but eventually, I would want to be in one. Now on to the next story. Story 3. I don't want to attend my sister's wedding because my parents always favored her over me. I, 32M, have a younger sister, Sarah, 28F, who has always been the favorite child of our parents. Growing up, even as little kids, it was obvious that our parents, especially our mom, favored Sarah and gave her more attention, praise, gifts, etc. I was frequently criticized for not being as smart, talented, or successful as Sarah. Our parents always bragged to friends and family about Sarah's accomplishments but didn't seem to care much about mine. The favoritism got worse when we were teenagers. When Sarah got into her dream college, my parents threw her a huge party and bought her a car. When I got into my top choice college, they said congratulations and that was it. Sarah got a free ride from my parents through college and grad school, and even received a generous fund money allowance from them every month. I had to take out massive student loans and work jobs during school to pay my own way. Whenever I tried to talk to my parents about the blatant favoritism towards Sarah, they would get very defensive and claim I was imagining things. According to them, she was just more motivated and ambitious than me, so of course, she would accomplish more to be proud of. Over the years, this clear preferential treatment took a toll on my self-esteem and relationship with my family. I distanced myself from my parents once I was financially independent. I still see or talk to them on holidays and special occasions, but I kept my contact minimal. Meanwhile, Sarah remained very close with them. Now my sister is getting married, and my parents are completely absorbed in the wedding planning. They are shelling out well over $30,000 to pay for a huge, fancy wedding for her next month. Of course, I was invited, but honestly, I feel no desire to attend. I am happy for Sarah that she has found a great fiancé, but the thought of spending a weekend celebrating with my parents and watching them fawn all over her makes me feel ill. Plus, with all that Sarah's elaborate wedding is costing, my parents said they cannot also help pay for my own upcoming wedding next year. I am engaged to my long-term girlfriend. I was hoping my parents could contribute at least a little to help with the costs, but they said with Sarah's wedding expenses this year, their budget was too tight. However, they again emphasized that I was still welcome to attend Sarah's wedding. I spoke to my fiancée about this, and she understands why I am so reluctant to go to the wedding. While she knows I should try to take the high road, she agreed that my parents' lifelong favoritism is hurtful and attending the wedding would likely just bring up bad memories. When I mentioned my doubts about attending to my mom, she got very upset. She said Sarah would be devastated if I didn't come and that I was just being spiteful and petty. Some other family members have also been reaching out, telling me it would cause drama and hard feelings if I didn't show up as part of the family. While I don't want to ruin Sarah's happy day, the thought of spending so much time around my parents is depressing. I still haven't decided what to do, but I can't help feeling like my family only wants me there, so they can pretend that everything is great. Against my better judgment, I decided to suck it up and attend Sarah's wedding. My fiancé encouraged me to take the high road, so I agreed to go, but I was dreading the favoritism and tension. Sure enough, as soon as we got there, my parents were fawning all over Sarah while barely acknowledging me and Jen, my fiancé. My mom pulled me aside early on and lectured me about needing to be more supportive of Sarah on her big day. It set the tone that this was all about Sarah, as usual. The hatred came to a head at the rehearsal dinner. Sarah made a passive-aggressive toast implying that she hoped Jen and I could have a fraction of the happiness she has with her new husband someday. It was a clear jab at our relationship. When I called her out on it afterward, she denied any ill intent and said I was just being oversensitive, as always. My mom took Sarah's side, criticizing me for making a scene and ruining Sarah's night with my negativity. I felt like the black sheep all over again. Sarah was back to her spoiled brat ways, and my parents were totally enabling her terrible behavior toward Jen and me. I honestly wanted to just pack it up and leave at that point, but Jen talked me down, reminding me to not let them get to me. The next day was the wedding itself. I tried to put on a brave face, but it was torture sitting through the 3-hour ceremony, listening to my parents give a gushing speech after speech praising Sarah. Meanwhile, they barely said 2 words to Jen or me. The entire weekend after the reception, Jen and I decided to head back to our hotel and skip the Sunday brunch, as we had had enough mistreatment. As we were leaving, Sarah smugly told me, "No hard feelings if you don't stay. I know how jealous you were of me having my perfect day." I couldn't even dignify that with a response. So, in summary, I'm glad I went through with attending to take the high road, but my sister and parents' behavior just reinforced why distancing myself from their toxicity is for the best. At least now Jen has seen their true colors too. We're heading home early to get away from the drama. I just feel sorry for Sarah's husband, marrying into this messed up family dynamic. Well, it has been a couple of weeks since Sarah's disastrous wedding, and I am still processing everything that went down. Jen and I were so relieved to get back home and put that toxic environment behind us. However, the drama didn't end when we left the wedding venue. About a week after getting home, I received a frantic call from my mom. She was hysterical, saying Sarah's marriage had already blown up in spectacular fashion. Apparently, Sarah discovered her husband, Brad, had been having an affair with her best friend and maid of honor, Stacy. From what I could piece together through my mom's blubbering sobs, it sounds like the affair had been going on for months before the wedding. Stacy had even flown out for the bachelorette party and weekend and was hooking up with Brad behind Sarah's back the whole time. The way my mom told it, Sarah had found some incriminating texts and emails between Brad and Stacy the day after the wedding. When she confronted them, they both confessed everything. They had fallen in love and were planning to leave their respective spouses to be together, just like that. Sarah's perfect marriage, she had bragged about, was in ruins after less than a week. The smug look was wiped off her face real fast. I will admit, after the way Sarah and my parents treated Jen and me at the wedding, there was a tiny part of me that felt a sense of perverse satisfaction at this turn of events, like some twisted form of karma. I didn't revel in it for long before the guilt set in, though, because despite the issues between Sarah and me, I would never want her to have to go through that level of public humiliation and heartbreak. Honestly, I felt awful for her. She may be an entitled brat, but she didn't deserve that level of betrayal from her best friend and new husband she thought she could trust. No one does. My parents were beside themselves, insisting this was all Sarah's fault for moving too fast with Brad and not properly vetting his character. They blamed themselves for enabling her every whim and not giving her perspective. It was like they had finally seen a tiny glimpse of how warped their enabling behavior had made Sarah. Not surprisingly, my parents immediately turned to me, looking for support and someone to vent to. I did my best to provide a compassionate ear, but I will admit I was holding back out of self-preservation. I couldn't allow myself to get completely sucked back in as the dependable son while they criticized Sarah for too long. That dynamic had expected too much emotional labor from me. Within days, Sarah was back living at home with my parents as the divorce proceedings began to play out. From what I have heard through the grapevine, she is utterly devastated. Divorcing so quickly after such an extravagant wedding has been humiliating. Apparently, Brad cleared out their joint bank accounts and moved in with Stacy while Sarah is now broke and living with my parents, feeling disgraced. A tiny part of me thinks Sarah is finally getting a taste of what she dished out in terms of smug entitlement all these years, but the bigger part of me just feels sad for what a mess it has all become. No one should have to go through public betrayal like that so fresh off their wedding day. My parents have been pressuring me relentlessly to come visit, give Sarah a shoulder to cry on, and help her through this devastating time, but I have been resistant to get too involved. I don't want to get dragged back into their vortex of dysfunction, nor do I think it is my responsibility to help repair the damage of Sarah's mistakes. I have spoken to Sarah a couple of times on the phone, offering some words of empathy and telling her I am sorry she is having to go through this, but that's as far as I'm willing to go for now. Her healing is going to have to happen without me. Jen has been tremendously supportive, agreeing we need to continue establishing firm boundaries. She finds satisfaction in Sarah's shocking fall from grace, only in that it might finally open my parents' eyes. Maybe they will realize building someone up to be the perpetual golden child is unhealthy for everyone. Unfortunately, even after a couple of months of Sarah's disastrous divorce, the drama in my family shows no signs of letting up. In fact, it has only gotten worse as Sarah has fixed herself as the perpetual victim with my enabling parents. Since she moved back in with them after Brad took everything from her, Sarah has been milking her poor me status for all it's worth. She spends her days moping around their house, barely leaving her old bedroom, while my parents wait on her hand and foot. According to my dad, she is in daily therapy dealing with panic attacks, depression, and what he calls betrayal trauma after Brad's affair. She has quickly gone from being the spoiled, entitled golden child to the fragile, coddled, wounded bird that needs constant care and support. My parents have completely bought into her act. They tell me frequently how broken she is and how they are terrified of pushing her too hard to get back on her feet. Instead, they are funding her every expense and whim, letting her wallow in self-pity endlessly. From my perspective, it seems less like genuine trauma and more like an expert-level guilt trip to manipulate my parents' sympathies. But they have always been suckers when it comes to Sarah's dramatics. The level my parents have gone to in rewarding her divorce behavior is beyond anything I could have imagined. Though a couple of weeks ago, my dad reached out, wanting to have a family meeting to discuss updating their will and estate plans. I will admit I was a bit shocked when he invited me over and announced in front of Sarah that they plan to rewrite their will, leaving everything, the house, investments, overall estate, solely to her when they eventually pass away. Apparently, all this is because Sarah has nothing left after the divorce, and they want to ensure she is taken care of when they are gone. My dad claimed it was their way of making things right after accidentally setting her up for failure by spoiling her too much growing up. I was speechless. They already paid over $30,000 for her wedding less than a year ago, and now, due to her own irresponsibility, getting married rashly, not properly vetting her husband, etc., they are going to disinherit me entirely to leave her with a windfall. After all the resentment from their past favoritism, this was a total slap in the face. When I pushed back, my mother started crying about how Sarah is so fragile right now, and they can't possibly put any more on her plate, as if being divorced at 28 is the literal end of the world. It is an insult to everyone who has faced real trauma. Sarah just sat there silently with a self-satisfied smirk, eating up my parents' pampering as they spoke about her like she was an invalid. I am completely disgusted by the display. It is clear Sarah has figured out exactly how to push my parents' buttons and manipulate them into feeling guilty. Now she has managed to position herself to cash in after draining them financially with the wedding costs. Part of me wants to just tell them fine, to go ahead and leave everything to the princess. Clearly, nothing I say will make them see how perverse their enabling is. And at this point, an inheritance or not won't make much difference in my life or relationship with them. But there is another part of me, call it prideful, petty, whatever, that feels I at least need to go on record objecting to this blatant disinheritance, to not become just another chapter in Sarah's narrative of being the perpetual victim who needs to be compensated. I am not sure if it will matter, but I have asked my parents to at least agree to split their estate 50-50ths between us when the time comes. Sarah will no doubt wail and cry if they give me anything, playing up her trauma, but I can't let her $330,000 wedding followed by some post-divorce pity be the sole reason to cut me out completely. This whole situation has me feeling so disheartened about my family. My parents are clearly determined to keep making the same enabling mistakes over and over when it comes to Sarah, and she knows exactly how to take advantage of their guilt. I keep trying to take the high road and not let it get to me as Jen encourages, but seeing Sarah being rewarded yet again with their full inheritance is rubbing more salt in the wound, as if the blatant favoritism during childhood and her wedding wasn't enough. Now I get to be punished further for her own irresponsibility. There is a part of me that hopes they realize how ridiculous this is before it is too late to change things, but I am quickly losing faith that they will ever put boundaries in place with Sarah. They seem addicted to rescuing her from her own mistakes. I am not sure where this leaves me going forward. Part of me wants to just wash my hands and accept I will forever be the afterthought of my family, but another part wants to keep fighting for a basic equity, if for no other reason than self-respect. I go back and forth hourly on pulling away permanently or still trying to have a relationship with them on some level. Certainly, interactions need to be very limited for my own mental health. This is the cycle I have been caught in for years, hoping for change that never sticks. In the end, maybe cutting them off fully is the wake-up call they need to stop expecting me to be the stable, understanding son, to realize their refusal to set boundaries enables Sarah's manipulations. But I also worry going no contact will only justify their labeling of me as the problematic, difficult one. I don't know. Maybe I am overthinking it all as usual. Either way, the loss of dignity has been profound. Whatever fondness I had for my family at one point is withering rapidly. The trust and hope for change is shattered. I am truly at a loss for how to deal with this never-ending saga of Sarah's entitlement and my parents' willful blindness. I know many would advise I walk away and write them off. Maybe that is what is needed to avoid being completely demoralized. I will continue leaning on Jen for objectivity and support as I try to decide next steps. We have reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us your thoughts about the stories in the comments section. Thank you and see you in the next video.